streaming. Okay, I think it might have done something now. It says excellent connection. I just don't see any video. Oh, there it is. That's excellent. Now I can see stuff. Great. Okay, so let's just see if it if I can share this somehow. Normal added quality. It should be the same as the last URL, Rick. I don't know if that's sitting anywhere, but very odd that it doesn't. Should be the same as the last URL, Rick. Did you? Well, yeah, you probably found it on the YouTube channel itself, but it's just very weird that it's so hard to share it from the actual YouTube studio. There's no share link.
Yeah, I just found it on YouTube. So I was like refreshing and looking to see if it actually showed up, and it's there now.
Yeah, that was very weird how it.
I pasted the link into the chat, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
I don't know. Yeah.
Enable live chat. Oh, I didn't have that. Okay, I guess we'll enable that. And I still don't see where the share. Oh, there it is. Share. It's up here. Okay, so they moved it a little bit. Let's copy the video link and put that out on Twitter. Thanks, Yurik, for joining. So Yurik is here from Event Store DB. It's really nice of him to join for a question and answer. Got a few more people.
Thanks for having me too.
Yeah, let's make sure we get the tweet out so people know. Happening now. Q&A. Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to answer any of the cloud stuff today because I don't think Zach was available. I talked with Dave yesterday. I think you were on the stream when I was talking with Dave, which was a good background.
Yeah.
Any notes from that meeting that were interesting to you?
I don't have anything particular to say. I mean, the backstory of EventStoreDB, already knew it.
Yeah.
Because Dave told me that when I saw him the first time in Netherlands. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
And I think it's still nice to have that kind of background story, because usually people don't know all the details, and there is some fun story behind it. And yeah, also from James Gill, but I mean, he didn't share his own version, but it's pretty funny stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Perfect. How was your week anyway? Busy?
Extremely busy. A lot of things going on in terms of cloud stuff to do and client-wise too. So, but I won't complain. I won't complain about
busy
that.
Is good, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's very interesting work to do. Many challenges. So, and as Dave said, I used to do that on my spare time. So being able to do that and being paid for it is amazing.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so we have a tweet. I don't think I'm going to do any YouTube stuff. I think most of our followers that are interested in EventStoreDB are already on YouTube following all the accounts. So maybe just a retweet from Event Modeling. I think there'll be a few people from that, and I think we're good to go. So I will try and make sure that we have a bit of video from the Zoom. The OBS and Zoom combination is still killing me in terms of config, but that's okay. There we go. One more retweet here should be good. So that should gather most people, and they should be able to come in and flutter in with their questions as we progress. Okay, and then yeah, if you want, we can obviously share your screen if you want to show some stuff. So I'm just going to make you a co-host so you can share easily.
I should prepare my background just in case.
Yeah, you can do
a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, perfect. So
let me see. Maybe I should come better prepared.
That's okay. It's a meetup, you know, and people. It's a Friday too, so people are more relaxed. We can chat about a few things and get to the, you know, the meat of the presentation right around now. Start it and then see where the questions lead us in discussion. So, you know, I'll start off with my question first of all for everyone that did not have a chance to understand your involvement, how you got involved with Event Store DB. We had yesterday on the podcast, we had an interview with Dave Remy, the CEO, which gave a really good background, but obviously spoke very highly of Yurik and how he came out of the woodwork of doing all of this work, and they said, well, let's hire this guy. He's doing all our work, right? Is that kind of how it came about?
Basically, that's how it went. Yeah.
So maybe you can just give a bit of background of your, you know, programming history, what you like about it, and how you ended up in event sourcing, and eventually how you got the current job with Event Store.
Mm-hmm. About programming itself, I think now I have probably 11 years of experience, and like your typical French software engineer, I mean, I started with C, C++, went directly to Java because for some reason I thought I would have better chance to get a job. I hate that language so much that I did whatever I can to get away from it, and I stumbled upon Scala, which I really liked. I already got a thing for functional programming probably when I get introduced to C#, which was the same time I was at college. And for some reason it was not enough, so I wanted to learn more about functional programming, so I just jumped straight to Haskell. And from that, I mean, it was just just a highway to mostly doing functional programming for probably a fair amount of time. I've been working as a software engineer. About Event Store, the first time I got introduced to the database was, I think, around end of 2014. I was working for a startup. I think the name was Volwin, which was involved into healthcare, and I never heard about Event Store DB, and I was intrigued because it was so different to what I was used to. And it was through Scala I get introduced to the database, and I know nothing about event sourcing at that time, nothing about the database itself, but I had to get intimate with the code base, which was quite large for the age of the company. First, if we just go forward, I left that company at that time, and I wanted to use Event Store DB for my own project. And obviously I saw there is no Haskell binding to it. So in the beginning I said, okay, I will just try to use Scala, but I I didn't like the client because it was using Akka, and I got my grievance with Akka at that time. So I said, okay, no, I won't do it. And at first, I tried to, came up with an event store using Postgres, like probably a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I just saw I was doing basically what already someone did with Event Store DB.
Right.
And so I said, okay, maybe I can just focus on the communication and just reuse what they already provide for free because it's open source. I can use it with no restriction. And that's pretty much how it started. I post a comment on the Google group, Event Store Google group.
Yep.
Ask how I can write an Haskell, not an Haskell client per se, but rather how is the communication protocol. So I get started and just be able to do what I wanted to do, which was at that time watching an application. It was the goal. And it took me about a month to have a pretty full-fledged client.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, I just keep improving my craft and improve the client itself. Now the client, the TCP client, the Haskell TCP client is still maintained. It's 5 years old and has been using it with many customers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them who pay me for improving the client. I remember a client who paid me for supporting cluster connection support, which was nice. Another client who asked me for consulting and help them out with both Haskell and even StoreDB.
Right.
And one time I decided I want to learn Rust. And as simple as that, I said, okay, what will be the best project to get started with Rust? And I remember that writing an even StoreDB client is basically concurrency, parallelism, networking, and parsing, which is pretty a good mix to get a good grasp of a language. I just decided to write the Rust client as a spare project to learn Rust. It was, I think, almost 3 years ago.
Yep.
And here we go, another client ready for use. And that's pretty much sum up how I got involved into the event store DB community. In the meantime, I also came up with some tools. I think the one Dave mentioned yesterday was Cerberus.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an administration tool because we didn't have paid support on my last company where we were using Event Store DB. And I was annoyed to have to script manually a lot of stuff. I can just use a program for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just write my own program and put everything I need there, like backup, be able to bootstrap a new database based upon some requirement, like having specific set of projections and a set of data, all of that stuff. And I just keep adding new stuff based on what I was doing at that time. And after some time, I got noticed and also contacted Daniel Rowan. And
Mm-hmm.
just like that, it ended up with working for them last year around March.
Excellent. So yeah, that's and then you're obviously the type of work that you were doing was very important to a number of communities that Event Store was trying to do that. Maybe I can kick off some of the questions. What is the complete set of client languages that exist now?
Currently, we have probably the most famous one, the .NET one.
Yep.
Which support a TCP and in the gRPC interface. We have the Rust one, which also support TCP, both TCP and gRPC.
Mm-hmm.
We have Java. It only supports Java 8 and upward, and it's only gRPC interface. We also have the Node.js client, who is only supporting gRPC 2.
Mm-hmm.
There is a Go client who is under development,
Mm-hmm.
and you should expect more development on that regard soon, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And there is also the Haskell client. The TCP is very complete, but right now, and I was actually working on that prior to that meetup
Mm-hmm.
on their gRPC Haskell client. So that's what we have so far. And I know there is also a Ruby that is currently being developed,
Mm-hmm.
and that I think that's summing up. That's probably all of it. Yeah, right now.
So, the next you kind of answered my next question. Is the next focus is really going to be Golang, from what it sounds like. That's the next big release. In terms of your amount of clients that you guys have, amount of users that you have, what's the percentage? Do you know any of the distribution of which community is using more of Event Store itself versus just event sourcing in general?
The bulk of the user are from the .NET community.
Right.
That's pretty much the bulk of the users.
Right.
And next we have Node.js. There was a lot of demand for Node.js client.
Right.
So I will say it's a second, and the third one is Java.
Oh wow.
There is Rust, but not we can't compare it with the rest of. I mean, we can't compare it with those I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Because .NET is way too big. I mean, in terms of download, I think we have 2 or 3 million download of the Nuggets for the .NET client. The Haskell one is 30,000, if I'm not wrong, and it took 5 years to get there. The Rust run is around 12,000, so it took 2 years to get that. Node.js, I don't have any stats when we go to NPM, so probably I will ask someone who really knows where those stats are.
Might be GitHub, but they have a bunch of runners, don't they, these days, that kind of can...
Yeah, it can mess up the stats, yeah, definitely, especially if they don't have some cache around.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it could inflate the scores. But.
Yeah, I certainly see a lot more GitHub getting helpful, quote unquote, by making new branches for you and doing a whole bunch of stuff, right? So
yeah, like dependency tracking.
Yeah,
to update your dependencies, and it's
being very helpful.
A workflow. Yeah, definitely.
It does. Yeah, it does screw up the stats. And so maybe you can get into another question: is the mechanics of what Event Store used to do compared to the move with gRPC. We did have a bit of a talk with Dave, but on a very high level. So maybe you can share with us some of the details in terms of how this changes working with Event Store and the clients. Which parts are easier, which parts are harder as you switch, I guess, strategies in terms of going forward with supporting multiple people.
So prior to gRPC, it was two main interface. It was the TCP one and the HTTP one. Obviously, if you wanted to have more higher load, you usually go with the TCP client. Whereas if you just have a really small load, just the HTTP one will do the job.
And for testing, right? So.
Yeah, personally, I never use the HTTP interface for testing, but I know some who did that.
Some people are more comfortable with HTTP than TCP.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how easy it is to bootstrap probably an application to test it out. But yeah, HTTP will definitely do the trick. And the main difference you have, I mean, maybe I should start with what we used to do. So with the TCP client, what was about is sending protobuf messages, protobuf2 messages on the wire. It was a full duplex connection, and so the server can send package, and the client too. And both use a health checking protocol, a very simple one, which was a heartbeat protocol, when we just make sure that the other side of the line is still up or is not overwhelmed. But there was no back pressure, for example. So it's totally possible from a client perspective to just send whatever you have to the server, whereas with gRPC, there is a back pressure implemented into the gRPC layer itself. So it's not something you have to do as a client developer. So writing a TCP client is really, even if it's funny to do, I think it's funnier to do that actually come up with a gRPC client, because a gRPC client is basically an HTTP client for most of it. Whereas you have so much stuff to do with a TCP client, where you have to implement the package layout first, which is not that complicated, but it's still very it's a lot of details, like parsing the first full byte of the package to know what is the size of the package. Then you have the type of package you're expecting from the server or from the client. So there's a lot of small things like that to do. It is also very easy to do something wrong, because basically there was no specification as a client from a client perspective to meet a specific set of requirements to be a valid client. So you can basically do whatever you want. With gRPC, now we know we have a standard of communication, and that standard is represented through the gRPC files or protobuf3 files. So now we can at least have the same standard across a whole bunch of languages, and it's also way easier to write your own client, because, as I said, writing a TCP client is a lot of stuff. Before, just to be able to send a package down the line, it will take you probably 5 or 6 hours to do that. Just by implementing a gRPC client in 5 or 6 hours, you can mostly implement at least 2 or probably 1 or 2 RPC call already. So that's probably the main difference.
Okay. So obviously there must have been some performance questions from certain people. I know that Event Store really started with Greg's vision of the highest transactions per second of any database, right? Without going to dev null. So that was, how small can the gap be between the client and what it wants to do and the actual storage on disk. And it was obviously written in C# at the beginning. Is there any changes internally from looking at different languages, different versions of Event Store, and does that really impact your work on the client adapters?
If we compare the TCP client with the gRPC client, let's say, for example, we stay in .NET land, they will be in the same ballpark performance-wise. However, you will probably find out the TCP one to be slightly faster, but it's not significant. And in some area, the gRPC could be faster. So it's in the same ballpark.
Mm-hmm. So it's not too bad then. People don't have anything to complain about.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, if you compare at the language level, you will find the Rust client obviously is faster.
Yeah.
But it's not the same, goal between the two. And you probably find the Node.js client slightly less slower than the others.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's also is expected.
Yeah, I don't
So
think anyone would expect any miracles, and for Event Store
exactly.
DB to work faster than other databases at that client interface level, right? It's just the nature of
But
JavaScript, nothing to do
yeah,
with Event Store.
but let's say that yeah, the client with the least amount of override will be the Rust one, definitely.
Yeah. So performance, go to Rust, and
Yeah.
um,
We're actually joking about that because I don't have a .NET background,
yeah,
and as you may know, even StoreDB is mostly a .NET shop.
yeah,
So sometimes we have a little bit of showdown
yeah.
where I praise my church of Rust, but I get wrecked when it comes to Haskell because obviously C# is most of the time is faster than Haskell.
Yeah, yeah.
So uh, so
But
this is
there are no efforts to rewrite the core of Event Store yet in terms of a different language. I know there's been people in the community talking about
yeah.
C or Rust or things like that to move away from .NET, and maybe that would have been more of a pressing nature if the .NET hadn't been really moved into the
Mhm.
Linux server world that well, right? So
I will say who knows.
yeah.
Who knows
We're
what
trying to
the
get the
year will.
inside track here by talking to the insiders. You see my plan? I first talked to Dave, now I talk
Yeah.
to you. Soon I'll be
I
talking
mean,
to
who
James.
knows? Who knows what we have? What we will have this year? Maybe some major surprise. Who knows? I don't
Yeah.
want to spoil it. I mean,
Okay. Yeah,
we'll
that's
see.
fine.
We'll see what the
Well,
future
we can take bets,
will
you
tell
know. We
us.
can start gambling on this. We'll get some
Sure.
odds. I'm gonna give 5-1 odds for Rust, and then see if
Okay. And
someone can take C. I don't know.
so why not another language like Go, for example?
Yeah, could do Go. Yeah, we can definitely. What do people think the odds are that Event Store will be re-implemented, or big parts are going to be re-implemented in that?
Yeah,
So,
I would like to know which will, according to you, which one is more likely to be used.
uh, I mean, from what I heard, knowing people like James and others, um, maybe things have changed. But from when I was talking to them, mind you, I haven't been able to travel and get the truth using beer from them.
You mean James
I would,
Nugent, I guess?
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, James and I always meet up when we're in the same town, and so we always
Hmm.
end up going and chatting for long periods into the night. So, anyway, I think from the last conversation, I would put my money on Rust,
Okay. Okay.
but
We'll
I'm not
see if you're
sure.
right. If you're right, we'll see if you're right.
I'll put my money on Rust, but that's. I think when you're talking to the core folks, they really want to squeeze the performance, make it really good.
Mm.
And then there's the reality of how many people there are that know Rust that you can now hire to do the work. How big is the community? So the reality of getting that project off the ground sets in. Obviously, you experience that on the client side. While you'd love
Hmm.
for people to, your clients to be of a certain tech stack, which would make it easier for you. You have a ton of people that are using, Node, and you're like, I guess we're stuck doing the JavaScript stuff. Okay, cool.
That's basically how it goes.
Yeah.
It's whatever the market wants.
Yeah, so I think on
Usually
the
try to
internals
provide.
it's going to be the same, right? They might not. This is why I'm giving odds because, well, I think it would be good to have something highly performant and all that. The reality of executing, the pros and cons, give and take. You got to
Hmm.
say, well, might go with C, just because there's a larger pool of people that are experienced with it, and it'll be easier to get the project finished faster. So
Hmm.
who knows? But yeah, now I don't not that I really want it to be. I mean, from my perspective, I don't think it needs any boosts
Hmm.
for that. I mean, if there's a level of de-risking future stuff by making things written in more open source way, maybe different licenses in this
Hmm.
in the tech stacks that are it's not an easy question to answer. You go with and JavaScript versus Java versus C Sharp. the libraries that you're going to use, whether open source or other, well, who cares about paid, but for open source at least, you might have a different landscape for the type of licenses, which might, handcuff you from the product perspective as to where it can run or what you can charge or if you can charge or the type of contributions you do, whether you have to push those up or not. So it might end up being more work for you depending on the licensing that's used in those things.
But for what it's worth, if you look at the code of the database and you go into the details, I mean, the internals, yes, granted it's C#, but it looks like C. so the performance is already good. From my perspective.
Yeah, I mean,
so
you can. You can pin memory and all this other stuff, right? Like you can drop down to, turn off garbage collection and things like that.
But I agree that Rust have all of those things ready. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I can see why people think Rust might be good.
That's kind of a complaint as well by people that are looking at Rust. Is that what I have to deal with this stuff as as a first-class citizen?
But right? I mean, I come from, as I said, from a Haskell background. You hardly find someone saying Haskell is a low level.
Yeah.
I think it's probably higher as you can get.
Yeah.
And personally, I wanted to have a better understanding of a lower abstraction programming concept, because I think that's probably something I didn't practice a lot. I mean, after college.
Yeah, that's the case for a lot of people. Yeah, it's like the last thing you have for C development is like the last thing you did in school.
Basically, yes. Yes. I mean, the last time I wrote some C, I probably wrote. I probably bootstrap a C client for even InstallDB, like in 3 hours, and I was just able to have a heartbeat request and respond out of the server. But the amount of work I had to do just for achieve that was too much. It was way too much. But
that's
time since I wrote some C. Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of how easy it is to get going with tutorials, depending on, let's say, you're coming in from Node.js or C# obviously is going to be easy from the .NET space, but some of these new things like Golang and what you're working on, how is the tutorials, the onboarding, the documentation, how hard is that to keep up with all the different connections you need to make to all the different stacks?
Yeah, and a good amount of the time we spent this year, not this year because we're barely in 2021, but last year was to actually have a consistent experience across all the clients. And so that's a work dev advocates have been helping a lot.
Matt and Alexei for sure.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and Oscar too.
Yeah. Lots of new people there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And yeah, we because most of the users come from the .NET client, so we assume that .NET should at least be the reference when it comes to user experience. So we try to provide the same experience, the same .NET experience, if I can say it like that, across all languages. So we try to respect the same naming convention, the same way of doing things. So for example, last year, basically only .NET has a connection string.
Right.
And we decided to implement that feature across the board because personally, prior to joining even InstallDB, I didn't like a string connection string because for me it's easier to mess up. But Alexei actually convinced me it was a good idea. I think it was around April, I think, or May, and he gave me a use case. But even if that use case I didn't see it based on my experience because in Haskell, parsing is just a very easy commodity that I didn't really mind having to pass my configuration differently. But from a .NET perspective, the fact you can just pass the connection and all the configuration into a on variable and use it, and just don't have to recompile your application and just change that connection string and be able to go with it was an actually a compelling argument. And yeah, so the default now is just to have connection string across the board, and we apply the same set of tests to see that all the requirements are met on all the clients. And also there's a lot of work that have been done from the documentation perspective. So right now you can see on the eventstall.com website, we have a documentation section, and it gathered documentation from the version 5 server, and from the brand new version 20 with the gRPC interface version. And there you can find snippet where you can have a field based on the language you want. So right now, if I'm not wrong, there is a .NET. We have snippet for .NET, Java, and Node.js.
Yep.
The Rust one are being written, and that's actually something I have to do next week.
Yep.
And you'll be able to just follow the same progression. I mean, from the website itself, when we introduce several aspects of the database, and you would just have to switch whatever language you want. So very soon you will have .NET Java, .NET Java, Node.js, and Rust, and later on Haskell, Go, and who knows what we will have after that.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. We want to have the same experience across the board. So if someone need to change from a different client because they have heterogenic stack, and they can just say, oh, it's easy to get to bootstrap whatever project into a different language, because we know the experience is the same. So that's what we are aiming for.
Well, your importance is really like your work is really important to us because, like from my perspective, because we're always dealing with different clients, and they, may have Python, they may have, C# or Node or whatever, Golang, and so we always need to do that. And at the beginning, we were always writing our own clients, right? So in fact, I think we have an implementation of a Golang client that we use,
that's
right?
What I heard.
Which is just needed to happen. We couldn't wait, and so not just because we have clients that use multiple. That may have any number of stacks that they went with, but we're also advocating for Polyglot. We really want companies to be able to enable technology to be more interchangeable, so that there is less of a less artificial barriers to hiring people, and this helps with all the modern problems of the industry. A lot of them are hard to talk about, subjects of diversity and equal opportunity. Removing all this kind of stuff. So I think this is really important work to be able to support these multiple implementations. It's certainly the way that we're heading in terms of recommending our clients to have more than one stack and really embrace Polyglot, to have a wider net they can cast for a larger exposure to the talent pool who can actually do the work for different systems. And of course, if you're into event sourcing, you can quickly see how your command handlers and event handlers, especially with some serverless stuff, they can start to be written in entirely different languages. And, the whole event modeling thing allows people to plan for it as well. So all this work with for different stacks, different languages, the more the better. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but going with gRPC was a big trade-off. Yeah. A really important discussion and trade-off, and we kind of talked about it yesterday with Dave as well, but I think we kind of only scratched the surface of it. So it's interesting. Maybe there's some stories that you have when you're helping people with a particular client, or maybe you're getting someone asking about a specific stack or a problem with a specific one or something they want to do.
Well, I did, but it's hard to know if they wanted my help just because it was a spare project and they wanted to know how to write a client. For example, I got a question on how to create a Scala gRPC client, and they didn't want to use the Java client as a starting point because all the future infrastructure in Java is not really compelling. I mean,
Yeah.
compared to C Sharp. So it's the interface of future and on Java is not really nice compared to what other language has to offer. So they wanted to come up with their own implementation.
Mm-hmm.
So I offered advice on how to handle it based on what I did with Rust or what I did with Haskell. So, and you also have someone trying to have a JavaScript client, not specifically a Node.js client, because Node.js can only be executed on the server. Some of them wanted to be able to run the client, but in a web browser environment.
Oh wow. Mm-hmm.
So because now we have a Node.js client, the fact we only need to have a gRPC implementation for the browser, and we'll be good.
Yeah.
And that's what we are doing.
Interesting.
Right now.
So you're talking about actually accessing Event Store straight from the browser.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the only piece missing from that client is I think it's about a subscription that can be that aren't implemented in the gRPC on the browser in the gRPC browser implementation. Sorry, they don't support a subscription model yet, but you can write event, you can read event from the browser if you use that client with a gRPC browser enabled backend, and that's what we have right now. Something that one of my coworkers is working on.
Awesome.
So the fact we have gRPC allows to do stuff like that.
Yeah, this is really nice from my perspective. I like to teach some of the concepts by allowing people just to write JavaScript in the browser because there's nothing to install really, and this, and if you can then just drop something and say, and this is how you can, talk to a database directly. I mean, some of the stuff we're playing with is even just writing to the index DB for client-side storage, and holy smokes, when you actually have, a way to use that as a cache for what's sitting in the event store, that's pretty cool. Should have a lot more interesting tutorial videos on exposing directly how event store works by just having these JavaScript things. And it's, if I look at the way people are learning programming more and more on the YouTube tutorials, it's really about hacking the browser these days. So this would be kind of cool.
Nobody want to set up nobody want to install a dev environment. It's annoying most of the time.
But you make a good job of making that as easy as possible. I know that you have the Docker containers ready and all that kind of stuff, so that at least it trims it down.
But also that's actually a nice subject because I think probably it was 2 months ago I wrote a REPL, a REPL, I think that's how you say it.
REPL,
for Event Store. I wrote it in Rust, and it's working because I did the presentation to the team probably a month ago. It's working, and you can see it on GitHub because it's named. What's the name? I forgot the name.
I can search for it.
I think it is how I call it. I forgot. Hold on.
GitHub REPL.
What's the name again? Profile. I call it Legion Experimental Event Store DB REPL. Yeah. So the last time I updated was the 10th of December 2020, and the README is there is nothing in the README, and I should actually come up with a little bit of documentation because it works and it uses.
Can you
Lua.
put? Maybe we can put on the screen. Can you type the
Yeah,
URL?
that's what I said. I came unprepared because
No, that's
I
okay.
could
It's a
have
it's
at
a
least-
meetup. It's a Friday meetup. It's all like leisurely.
Okay.
I'm rarely ready as well. By the time Friday rolls around, I'm like in so many meetings and so many things on the go.
Okay, let's do something like trying to communicate with a cluster sitting on event store DB cloud, for example. That's a, so we have a bit of cloud in the conversation.
I just wanted to show the GitHub repo, but do you know what?
No. What I'm trying to say is I'm going to use one of a cluster we have an investor DB
okay.
use the REPL.
Okay.
Because I mean it will be a nice experience. So okay, so you have the repo on the screen. Okay.
No, sorry. So what am I searching for?
It's Legion, I think it is in English. Legion.
Legion.
Yeah.
That's going to be a very common name.
Even in Rust. Come on,
Rust.
I didn't know that. Okay, maybe I can just share the link on chat here. It'd be better.
Yeah, I can put it up on here.
Here you go.
Oh, sweet.
And let me switch back to that.
There we go. Sweet.
Yeah.
And look at some source.
So, as I said, the README does not give the project any justice.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
It works. It works. And it uses Lua. And basically what we can do right now with it is to be able to write projection in the REPL itself. So you can read events, you can write events, you can do a bunch of things with it. And I have some script I got in my I had locally. Legion. Maybe I can just try to run them. Here we go. Okay, so let's at least compile it. I didn't compile it since a long time.
Seems nice and simple. Can't wait to try this out.
It is. I think I came up with the code in about probably a week.
Yeah.
Because I did that during the evening. And okay.
Shadow ops. Yeah. That's so that's one thing that Dave said is that you got to do stuff during the day that you used to do at night. Is that that's our dream jobs, right?
Yeah, honestly, being able to just hack on stuff and being paid for doing what you were doing during your spare time is it's a nice feeling. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, interesting. So there's an input thing that you're using for testing?
Yeah.
Nice.
Where is it? Okay, so Legion is running. I just try to connect to my cluster and I will see if I got the script running. Okay, so I got a bunch of script I can show. So okay, this is a cluster. Is here. All right. Copy. Yes, I know. It doesn't work. Okay. All right. Copy. Hopefully I will not be I mean when you try to do a live demo and you have
yeah, that's okay. Wow, I didn't expect this, but if you want to share, go for it. Happy to do that.
SDB discover SDB discover and yes, here we go.
If you want to share your screen, you should be able to take over for me, but I'll try and wrangle the YouTube stream so people can see as well.
Let me at least hide what I shouldn't. share with you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Because I was working on some stuff, so that's
no
why
problem.
I didn't expect that. Okay, so I have a quite high resolution screen, so I don't know how it will.
Should be okay. I think OBS will
Okay.
shrink it down to whatever. You probably, if there's something unreadable because the font is too small. Yeah.
All right. So can I have these passed correctly, please? Thanks. And okay. Let's see. Share.
Do I need to stop sharing first?
Well, this will stop other screen sharing. So I think I can just.
You can just share, right? I added you as a co-host, so you should just kick my
Yeah.
share off right away.
So. Oops. Not really too bad. It's just a cloud interface. So can you see the terminal on the right?
I can in the Zoom. I just got to make sure that this is
let's
screen capture properties. Let's make sure that we got that and just turn that on.
I think is okay. And let's see. Okay, on the right here and the code.
Okay. Oh, you're on Manjaro. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I changed my distrib quite a lot. So now I just switched to that because it's a really nice setup. So let me open a script. So open file, code. Where is Legion? It's here. And this is, for example, okay. Bad thing. Okay. Oh, I'm not in the wrong.
Okay, I think I got you on the screen.
Okay, so it's not the right screen. Okay. Anyway,
I have it sharing now, so it should be good. People can see you, I think.
All right. So
I'll try and expand it maybe a little bit more so that people can see more of the code. Fill out the screen. So hopefully that'll work. If you just pump up the size of the text, it should be more visible, I think.
Yeah, of the editor.
Yeah, both. Hopefully, I mean, until it's still make it usable, but not too big.
Okay, so I don't really see what you are seeing right now, so I don't know.
I'm seeing the code and I'm seeing the terminal.
Okay.
It says Legion. I'm just gonna double check. I think we're seeing that on YouTube as well.
Okay, perfect then.
I hope we're seeing that on the. Just double check.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah, everything's good. We can see it on YouTube too. Okay, cool.
Okay, so is the code clear enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I think
perfect.
It's legible. Yeah.
So on the right, let's see at least if it works. If I'm still able to connect there. Yes, I can. So this is a cluster. We have an InvestorDB cloud here. And I'm connected to it. So this is how you use the tool. So imagine, because I just run the code directly using Cargo, so the build tool of Rust. But imagine there is just a legend here, and the parameter is -c, and this is the connection string you use to be able to connect to your cluster or whatever setup you have. So I got a bunch of functions available. So for example, we have the stream function, which will just list all the stream we got here. You can think it's stream events. I don't even remember the name. But if, for example, you look at this, you take the stream name here, and you passed it. Okay. You can list the content of the stream. So here we can see we have. Let me expand a little bit. You can have all the events you have from that stream.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the killer feature is the fact you can load Lua script and be able to run projection locally.
Huh.
So here on the left you have a Lua script. So it's based upon the example stream, which I don't think I have in that configuration.
Yeah, you can just add the other one, right?
Yeah.
Or a different one.
Let me see the content. Let me see at least the content so I can at least convert it. So type, okay, the event type is that. Okay, so let's copy that and change that to this. Okay, and the stream will be this one.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so perfect. Now, what you can do, I don't even remember. Is that load? Maybe I just need to look at the code a little bit because I don't remember.
Yeah, no problem. This is really cool because it's behind the scenes look of what it takes to get hired at Event Store.
What makes you think that?
Working at night, I see it's dark in your room.
Oh yeah, because I don't like too much light. Personally.
Yeah.
Can you just okay? Just this open and I don't remember the command. What is the command? Is no. Yes, input. I don't usually remember what I try to do. It's amazing. I wrote the code, but I don't remember it. That's
well, it makes two of us.
Yeah, I need to remember exactly. I mean, it's a month old. It's already too old.
Yeah.
And okay, sure. Okay, so where's the command? It's probably right here. So loop line command load. Okay, so it's load, right? So if I do that, and in my current pass, I got, I think it's example it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if we got that, usually it means it got loaded correctly.
Okay.
And open, because
It's nice. People are getting a bit of a sneak peek as to how events are serialized in Event Store as well. So,
yeah, that's exactly what you got.
Yeah.
What the database returned to you.
Yeah.
And okay, so this is the code I got. Okay, so it got loaded. So if I run project here, we will see the value we got out of project. So we have, I think, 3 events with the event type EX6 write event test. Yes, I think we got 3 of those.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do that, yes, it returned 3. So it execute that script. So the idea is to be able to have, as you mentioned earlier, let's say you want to interact with when you install DB, but you don't want to set up a real project where you have to mention all your dependencies. Like,
yeah,
okay,
exactly.
you need to pull the client and everything. You just want to act something up very quickly. This is a solution here, because all you have to do is connect to to the server, and the rest is just Lua script. So you can do a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
as you can see here, you can also generate a bunch of events. So if I load that script, for example, which is named generator. Okay. And I can, with that script, I can say, okay, I want to generate based on a stream name, I want to generate a certain amount of events. So I will say generate, because I load it correctly. Generate. And let's say, okay, and want to generate 5 of those.
That's really good for testing.
Yeah. And if you, now you said stream, it returned nil because there is nothing I returned from.
Yeah, you're just putting stuff in. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could have just have a nicer integration, but I mean,
it's okay. I know what's going on.
And as you can see here, you can see what have been generated from the Lua script. So we can see event type Lua generated, the content of the event here, so the date. So you can see it's a real date. So I didn't fake it up.
Yeah. No, that's a live demo without any preparation that worked. It's almost as if the opposite happens. If you had prepared, I guarantee nothing would have worked.
It is possible, but I'm very confident of the code itself. Not because I'm an amazing programmer, but because it's Rust, and Rust got my back. On so many occasions.
Yeah,
so
no,
I can say the same with us.
I think the whole event sourcing thing exactly is like that, because this reminds me of, I keep using an example of one client that had a late 11th hour requirement. Give the stuff you have in the events some of the information we want in a CSV. It's like, oh well, if I had a SQL database, I could probably just attach it to Excel or Access or something. But it was pretty easy. The JQ command line thing, I streamed the events through. There's a CSV function in there as part of JQ, and from the JSON that you're seeing, just came out as CSVs with all the information, identified, located, and populated and done. And it took like 5 minutes. So I love the fact that you're being able to now use Lua and just do whatever you like for setting up a scenario.
Yeah.
What we did, we just copied production code and run some stuff locally, right? We didn't have to even connect to that.
To be honest, that's when we when I do maintenance on the database itself, a lot of time I'm using my own tool. This one, for example, just to see how it works. But lately I've mostly done client work, so I didn't have to.
Yeah.
But when when it was ready and I wanted to reproduce some situation, it was so much easier to poke with the database that way, just to see if it behave like I expected. And we also, that's one way of using the client, but the one I mentioned earlier, the one I mentioned earlier was, it was the Cerberus tool. Okay, so it's probably too...
Oh, yes, you did mention this. We didn't have a chance to look at it, so thank you.
And this one was the one I used. It's the one I used at my previous job, because I had to do most of those things manually.
Yeah.
And I got fed up at one time. It's okay, I will spend a night. I think that's probably what I spent. A night writing that. It's okay, now no longer I will have to do that manually.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's basically the same thing we had with the REPL I showed earlier. We're able to list events, write events, stuff like that. But we can create projection with it too. We can do backups too, and even remote backups. So I did that for my cluster at my previous job a lot of time, where I just use my own tool for doing it. There is also a feature I really liked is a compliant checking feature,
Mm-hmm.
where you just say, okay, this is the specs of the database I want. So for example, I want to have that projection set up
Yeah.
where, okay, this is the code of the projection, this is the name, this is the type, all the options we want to enable. And okay, so that's probably a sad thing because it doesn't show the output of that usage of the feature. But basically, what it says is a list of, you can see what is met, so it will be checked in red.
Right.
And if there is something that is not conforming to that specification, it will be marked in red, and
Mm-hmm.
you can see the difference too. So for example, let's say you have a version of the projection here, it will tell you if the code differ. So for example, if you try to apply that specification, the code will check, oh, we found out the projection doesn't have the same code,
Yeah.
and here's the diff. So we can know, okay, it's not the same, but this is what changed between those two. So it's really a powerful thing I use for setup test environment, and also to reproduce specific use cases, because all I have to do was to give the files and it will do everything for me. So that could be, for example, versionized in a repo, in a Git repo. You just say, okay, this is a file, I will run it, and it will set up my environment properly. So this is also the other thing I worked on, and it's Rust, and it's using the Rust client, but I believe this one used the TCP Rust client, not the gRPC Rust client, because at that time I didn't have the I didn't choose the gRPC client. It was not as complete as it is right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really good. What else can we? Any other projects that you've that you're working on? That's pretty cool stuff.
I don't know. Maybe this one will wait. There is, I mean, I got a lot of ideas when it comes to tooling,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not. I don't want to share them right now. But yeah, it's around administration tools, and
well, a lot of that stuff is tedious and boring, yes, like you say. So you it's good to actually have that done. Yeah, for yourself automatically, not having to do this stuff manually. So
yeah, it's tedious. It's tedious to do that, and I mean, why? As a programmer, I should do something manually. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I'd rather have a program for that. But that's the kind of thing you can do by leveraging the client. So I'm really happy about those kind of projects, and I'm really free to experience a lot of stuff on when I work on Polyglot.
Yeah.
So yeah, the other tool, I don't think I can share them.
No, that's fine. Maybe we can check with people in the chat whether they have any questions right now while we. Do we have Zoom again? Yeah, let's do that. Just have it in Zoom. Yeah, any questions from folks in there? Larger font, please. Morton. Sorry, too late. I will post the links. I missed that. Sorry, Morton.
I think I did 200 zoom in, 200%, but maybe it was not big enough for the code itself. Or
yeah. Oh, that's great. Okay. Let's see if I can get back on my Zoom image here. I'm still struggling with all the OBS stuff, as usual.
Yeah, same when I'm streaming on Twitch, because I think last time I streamed on Twitch was when I was I was writing some Rust code on the Rust client.
Yeah.
So I was using OBS.
Yeah,
the first time was rough.
It seems there's always something rough. Like right now, I can't get the chroma key with the weird off color green background that I have. So, yeah, I think I'll just share my screen for this. Where is it here? Yeah, I usually just share the OBS screen so that people can see what I'm doing with my different scene selections and all that. But when do you stream on Twitch? That's pretty cool. People can tune in on that. That'd be kind of cool. If mostly Rust, I assume.
It will be either Rust or Haskell. Obviously, very, very unlikely I stream some .NET, but who knows?
Maybe one day.
But actually, I think I thought about a specific kind of content when we pick a ticket or an issue on Git on the repo and just work through it live.
Right.
But I have to find the right ticket for it, because suddenly you will find a ticket that will be able to fix in 2 hours.
It's
quite rare.
There's a guy that does programs for Thunderbird, also a Linux guy. He does some live streaming, so it's tough to pick something and then try and fix it in 2 hours.
That's why. I mean, it could be done in some situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually I will stream on Rust or Haskell stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if that works now. Hey, I got you back. I've managed to fix the Zoom stuff. For this kind of live streaming, I wish OBS had a few more little features to crop things a little bit more easily. Or maybe I just don't know how to do it yet. Because right now it's interesting. But okay. So I guess we covered everything. Anything from people on the call? If there's nothing, I didn't really see any chat on YouTube as well for people having questions. So I think we covered everything about every client currently available for Event Store DB. Any other sort of things to close off on in terms of what people are asking you mostly about? We kind of went into that a little bit. Any kind of parting words and where people can find material, and if their language isn't supported, what are your next things that you suggest to do for them? I mean, we wrote our own clients, so it's not that hard.
It is not, but I will admit it will take time.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you have not an incentive to spend time on it. So what I will recommend is just to make you heard first. Just say, okay, we have a need for a specific language client we would like you to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we'll investigate a bit and see if there is an actual demand for it. And if there is enough people complaining there is no client for that language, it will be dealt with.
Like COBOL or VB6 or.
But I mean, if there is many people asking for that, yes, definitely. I mean, for example, I asked probably 2 weeks ago or maybe a week ago if there is demand for a Swift client, because I said, okay, maybe someone on the Apple land wanted to be able to connect to Install DB and didn't want to invest time on a client.
Mm-hmm.
And I just asked just to see the water, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't have that much response, for example.
Right.
But for other clients I had.
Interesting.
So depends. I mean, I heard last night for me, about the Elixir client. I think it's
that's right.
Second or third time I heard about it. Someone asking for it, because I think it was actually Matt.
But it's Yordis from one of our regular guys that's here. Usually is here. I think he was at the beginning, but he probably had other meetings to go to. But yeah, he is a big fan of Elixir. So and of course he loves event sourcing. So he maybe will take up the work himself. Who knows?
I mean, why not? I mean, I'm open to learn Erlang, even if I think Elixir is like a type version of Erlang, right?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with it. I just know that Yordis will be there right if you say you're going to do it, he's going to be there tomorrow. Right. So you have volunteers, let's just say, because they're really passionate. You know, a lot of communities are really passionate about the languages that they chose, and so when you cross-pollinate this with event sourcing, these passions cross over nicely and help one another out. So obviously, from my perspective, I wrote my first event store in 2009 for a production system, which was fun. I mean, if event store had been around then, I would have used it. But and same with the clients now. You know, if your client's not around yet, you'll probably write one yourself. But pretty soon there's going to be one that's an official one, and the nice thing is that the contracts are so solid that it won't be a big deal. You just change it to the official one.
But now, for example, both the Rust and Haskell one are officially supported by EventStoreDB.
Right.
I mean, it used to be not the case.
That's right.
Nobody knows how things can evolve.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Especially the Golang one was big for us. Simply because we had a concentration of a lot of Golang. Java script Node, it's one of our standard stacks too, so that was really important for us to make sure to have that support. But yeah, really, really good work. I'm really happy to see the person brought out from their nighttime activity into daytime, and what a great combination. If everyone would have the luxury to get jobs like this, man, that's a good life.
Agree. But be careful. I mean, sometimes you don't see it, and it's already 3 a.m.
Yes.
So it's also a curse in some ways.
Yeah.
A good curse, if I put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. I have natural alarm clocks called my son that I have to take care of. So there's no time that I'm really just can continue.
Same, but they are very quiet. So.
Oh, okay. You come after they're in bed. You come back, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Well, I think we covered everything. So, again, to get a hold of you, you're on Twitter. I believe you are on Twitter. Let me just see.
Yes, I am.
I think
the handle is Yo8.
Yeah, Yo8.
Exactly.
Let's see if I can. Okay. I switched my Twitter account to be logged in on a different browser, so I can't go to my regular account now. But if I search, there it is.
Yeah.
Perfect. So for those of you that want to follow Yurdik's progress through all of these, follow on YouTube, and of course there's also Event Store. The official Twitter tag is now Event Store, I believe, and eventstore.com, right?
Yeah, expect content, because there is an Event Store DB YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So expect content to land on that outlet. So far, we only probably on 1 or 2 videos related to cloud.
Yeah.
So I think it's about the AWS and the Azure provider.
Yeah.
But more to come.
Yeah, no, it's I know there's a lot of work to be done, and I think I like the way that Event Store is always about the community, and you're a example of that involvement, where someone that was working on common problems, Event Store guys saw this, hey, there's a community member doing really good work, let's work together. So really happy to see that, and again, thank you for all the hard work to because you make my work easier. When we're dealing with Event Store DB and we're going to new clients, we have fewer and fewer problems and things like that. So,
but you make our work shown to the public, so you help by spreading the word.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I try to help.
Situation.
I try to help any way I can, because if I help you, it's just better for me as well.
Yeah,
it's a symbiotic relationship.
It's the same. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Exactly. Well, Yurik, thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's getting late over in France now, so
Yeah, it's around 9 p.m. right now.
so time to enjoy the rest of your Friday and start your weekend. I still got the day to get through here today, but I hope we have another one of these when the next client drops or there's
Sure.
new projects that you're working on. I'm always happy to meet up with guys like everyone that's working at Event Store. It's a really important for our company to have such a great database to rely on every day. So thank you so much for sharing so much of your life with us and your extra projects and answering all of the questions about clients that we had.
Thank you for your platform. To be able to,
Thank you so much.
showcase my work.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a
Bye.
good one. See you next time. Thank